Welcome to the Pachehra Talks, and in today's video, we are going to cover a very important topic. This is a part of specialist series, and we need to understand the data governance, risk, and compliance kind of solution uh, for our databases or data which is around in any organization. It could be multi-cloud, it could be on-premises, wherever your data is. Why we are talking this in this particular series and not in, I guess, SC 400? Because this is a part of security specialist syllabus now in the Azure SQL database. We learned in the previous video. In the same module, we have MS Purview. So before we start digging it deep, because this is first video in Pachera Talks on Microsoft Purview, that's the reason we are going to understand this first, and then we'll try to bind it to the Azure SQL DB or how it can help us to secure our data. So Microsoft Purview, what it is. Well, I'm pretty sure whatever we talked or introduced this as of now gives you a pretty decent picture what it is. It is a solution which is designed for a comprehensive data governance, okay, for data risk and compliance, data compliance, to find out data compliance. And how we can achieve that, we'll talk about it in this video. So, Microsoft Purview is a comprehensive data governance, risk, and compliance solution designed to help you or help any organization to manage their data estate. It provides a unified platform for data discovery. Okay, because how can you govern the data? How can you know where is the risk and whether we are maintaining any compliance? Only when you have the discovery, right? Once you know what the data is, where the data is, what kind of data is. So it provides a unified platform for data discovery, cataloging, and governance across on-premises, multi-cloud, and SaaS environment. With Microsoft Purview, organization can ensure that their data is well managed, secure, and compliant with any regulatory requirements. So this is what this service is. This is what the Microsoft Purview is. So for our notes, let's write down few things about it so that we can just refresh at the end of the video when we will summarize it. So Microsoft Purview is a comprehensive data governance, risk, and compliance solution designed to help organization to manage their data estate. So that's what it does. So basically, what will it do? It will discover the data and takes care of the rest by itself. We'll see all those features in the same video. Okay. All right. So and it does not matter where the data is. So uh, on-prem, multi-cloud, right? Does not matter if it is any SaaS environment. It works with all. Okay. And it also provides the unified platform that we should mention here again. Unified platform. And what we do in this platform, this will help you to data discovery. And of course, once you discover, you can catalog it. What can we do? We can catalog it because that's what we are doing the discovery for. This is one of the important step. All right, so this is what preview is. And now let's try to understand how actually Purview manages to do these things. What defines Purview? Let's see how Purview can help us achieve that. Oh, not but what. Okay, so simply try to understand the key components and the features of Microsoft Purview, and then we'll bind everything in a example or a scenario kind of thing so that we can comprehend it better. So the very first key component of Microsoft Purview is data map. Okay, data map. So what is data map? Well, to do anything, as we said when we were defining MS Purview, we need to discover the data. So data map automatically scans and catalogs data from various sources, creating a unified metadata repository. And this helps organization discover and classify their data set. So that's what it does: discover and classify data assets. Okay, how it actually does that: once you have connected it, it will automatically discover data and do the classification integration with uh, it can integrate with various data sources. So what we can say data map is, and it's continuously scan and updating the metadata. Remember, it scan and capture the metadata. It will not just capture the entire data but the metadata. So data map is the foundation of MS Purview, I would say, and it continuously scans and catalogs metadata from various data sources. So it continuously scans and catalog metadata from where? From sources. It could be all on-prem, multi-cloud, or any other source. All right. And what would happen when it does that? It provides a unified view of an organization's data state. That's what the data map is doing. As the map, you can say mapping. That's what it's doing. It's mapping. And how it actually does, what are the steps? Well, let's try to understand the steps. So first, the very first thing is we need to connect connect the data sources. So administrators connect various data sources to MS Purview. First, you go to the portal, create the MS Purview account. You will have connectors. You need to connect. What we need to connect? The data sources. And what are the data sources? For example, Azure SQL database that we covered in the previous video, Azure Data Lake Storage, on-prem databases, or any other cloud storage services. So connector will help us to connect data sources. That's the first step. Then what would happen? Uh, then metadata scanning happens. That's why we are connecting, right? So Purview, uh, Purview, MS Purview's scanning engine reads metadata from the connected data sources. The engine extract information such as table names, column names, data type, and relationship between tables, those kind of information. It also identifies data lineage, tracking how data moves across the different systems. So scanning will give you the information about the data and all those connected sources, everything about the data, what is happening with the data, what is data, all that kind of information about data in metadata, right? So that's what it does. And finally, extracted metadata is stored in the data map, which act as a centralized repository. Okay, so what is happening? We connected the source and then scanning happens. After the scanning, we have all the metadata, which has all the information about the data. And what happens with the metadata? We put it in a repository, a centralized repository. Okay, and that's what is. data map is. Okay, so data map is continuously updated as new data is added or existing data is modified. So all the scanning which is continuously happening gather all the metadata and keep storing in the centralized repository or data map, which act as a centralized repository. So this is the one first component of our Microsoft Purview, right? Now we have connected the sources, we have done the scanning, we have the data in the repository. Now what happens? Well, in that scenario, we get another component into the picture, which is data catalog. Well, just stay with me. All these points will start connecting the dots automatically. So data catalog provides a centralized repository where users can search and discover data assets. Okay. So as the name says catalog, so it will help in search and discover data assets. That's what the catalog do, right? So search and discovery of data assets. So uh, data catalog provides searchable interface for users to discover and understand their data assets. And how can it does that? Because as of now, if you remember in the previous step, we have the centralized repo of all the metadata which is scanned from the all the data sources. So it has that information already. Now we have to search in that centralized repository through all that metadata which is gathered. So what it does, it leverages metadata stored in data map. Okay, so that's where it provides a searchable interface for the users to discover and understand their data assets. Now, what are the steps that needs to be performed to see or prepare this catalog? Let's see those steps. So the first one is data discovery. Again, how? Because users can search for data assets using keywords, filters, and other search criteria. So they discover. Now it's not that discovery; it is happening inside the catalog. So the catalog displays detailed metadata about each data asset, including descriptions, classifications, and data lineage. So users can easily discover the data into the metadata. Now, what we are doing, we are building the catalog. So users can add business context to data assets by tagging and linking related assets. So that's what they can do. And of course, RBAC ensures that users only see data assets they are permitted to view, and sensitive data can be masked or restricted based on the user role. So that is what is happening under the data catalog. So we can say collaboration. Why we are saying it collaboration? Because users can add business context to the data assets, and uh, data catalog supports the creation of business glossary where standardized terms and definitions can be maintained, and of course access control. So in the data map we gather all the metadata in a centralized repository. In the data catalog we provided users interface to discover and understand their data assets, and of course do the tagging and linking related to assets or business. Now what happens next? Let's see, let me put it here first. This thing, this part is done. Let me put it here. The third component is data insights. Now slowly it starts making sense. We gathered the metadata, we started searching, linking, tagging the information out of it, and now what is happening with that? We are getting insights out of it. So data insights provide analytics and reporting capabilities. Analytics and reporting capabilities. That's what the data insights does. That's the another component of MS Purview. And what it does, it help organization understand their data estate, identify risk, and ensure compliance, which is the we covered in the first introduction. So you started understanding that, connecting the dots, right? So that's what the analytics does. It help you identify or understand your data estate and identify the risk and the ensure the compliance. Right. So data insights provide analytics and reporting capabilities to help organizations understand the data estate, identify risk, and ensure compliance. Okay. Now, what are the steps we could say, or the flow we need to understand data insights? The very first is data usage analytics. Purview tracks data usage patterns such as which data assets are most frequently accessed. Insights into data usage help in optimizing data management and identifying critical data assets. Okay, so the very first thing is data usage analytics. Only then you can understand the importance of data, the usage patterns, and things like that. Insights. Okay, this will help insights into the data usage, help in optimizing data management and identifying critical data assets. Then the second step is or flow is data quality monitoring. And this MS Purview monitors data quality metrics such as completeness, accuracy, and consistency. Alerts and reports can be generated for data quality issues, helping to maintain high data standards. So, data quality monitoring can also be done in MS Purview, which is absolutely needed because you don't want uh, because you want to get insights out of it rather nothing. Right? So quality matters. If you have quality, only then you can uh, have some worthy insights. And the third thing in the insight is the compliance, right? So once we have the insight, of course, it will have direct relation to what is happening, which gives us the compliance, right? Compliance report. So compliance reports provide an overview of data handling practices, identifying potential risk and non-compliance, and we can get this information through data insights. Detailed audit logs track data access and modifications, supporting compliance audits, all those things, all that insights we can get through this data insight component of Microsoft Purview. So these are the various components of Microsoft Purview, which will help us govern the data, identify the risk, and maintain the compliance from wherever your data is. And of course, helping them to label it, identify the importance of data, all those things. Right. So another key component that we should be aware of is data policy and management. Now we have talked about all these things. Now the first part is governance. That's where the policy helps enables organization to define and enforce data governance. All right. So uh, policy and governance management involves defining and not only defining but also enforcing policies to ensure data is managed according to the organizational regulatory requirements. So policy creation and enforcement is the main aspect of this data policy and management component. Also, we can say data retention and life cycle management. Right now, how it actually works. First, we need to create the policy. So, policy creation happens. Creation. Who does that? Administrators. Administrators define policies for data access, data retention, and life cycle management. Okay, and these policies specify conditions and actions such as data masking for sensitive information or retention periods for certain types of data. So that's how we create the policy, define the policy, and we do the enforcement. Policy enforcement is the next part where policies are enforced across connected data sources that we did at the very beginning during data map. So Purview ensures that data handling practices comply with the defined policies, automatically applying actions where needed. And finally, whenever something you ask people to do or you try to enforce it, what you need to do? You need to monitor. Right. So Purview continuously monitors data assets for policy compliance and alerts, of course, generated for policy violation, allowing administrators to take corrective actions about it. So these are the things under policy management or data policy. And finally, there is something which is very important in Purview, which is data classification and how you do that sensitivity labeling. So this is the another key component or the last or the main, not the least, automatically classify and label data based on its sensitivity. That's what the data classification and sensitivity labels is. What it does, it's automatically or automated. You could also do manual data classification. That's what it help us to do, data classification, which means sensitivity sensitivity labels to data or sensitive data. Why? To protect it. Okay, you don't want to protect in the same way entire data, right? It has a lot of issues, a lot of money waste. You only want to protect the data which is highly sensitive. If you go to protect everything, like all the data which has no value at all, you might miss the important data. So first you need to classify the data before you start protecting it, because even the protecting the data has many ways. So you need to first identify the data and the protect the data as it's supposed to be protected, right? So you can also integrate this with MIP, which is Microsoft Information Protection, for consistent data protection across platform. MIP integration can also be done. All right, so data classification and sensitivity labels. And this data classification involves identifying and labeling data based on its sensitivity. It's very simple, right? Identifying and labeling data based on its sensitivity. Let's check out the flow for this. The very first thing is automated classification. Purview's scanning engine uses built-in and custom classification rules to automatically classify data during the scanning process. So once you connected the data source, scanning happens. You can ask your MS Purview to classify data automatically. Examples include identifying personally identifiable information or PI data, financial data, and intellectual property during the scanning. Tag it, and then protect it. So you can say auto classification is the first step. Then users can manually classify data assets that were not automatically classified. That can be done. So sensitivity labels can be applied to data assets to indicate their level of sensitivity. And administrators can create and manage classification rules and sensitivity labels under classification management. Policies can be defined to enforce data handling procedures based on the classification, right? So you classify your data Accordingly, policies will enforce. Now, since we have a lot of information about Purview that we talked about, uh, all right. So, what are the key components that we have studied till now of this Purview? Data map, data catalog, data policy and management, data classification sensitivity labels, right? There is one more thing that we studied. I think I somehow it got erased, which was data insights. That is fine. I should write somewhere here. I don't know what happened to data insights. Okay, maybe I just missed it. Data insights. Try to map them with some simple scenarios and use cases. For example, if the scenario is, let's suppose there is an organization needs to create an inventory of all its data assets across on-prem and cloud environment. Okay, scenario one. What is the scenario? Scenario is simple. An organization needs to create an inventory of all the data assets, inventory of data assets, rather all the data assets across on-premises and cloud environment. Okay, there is another scenario. All right, let's clean this and then we'll start uh, talking about other. So this is one scenario that we have. All right. So Microsoft Purview, who will help us doing that? Data map. Microsoft Purview's data map and data catalog automatically scan, classify, and catalog data, providing a searchable inventory for easy data discovery. Right? Now, let's suppose there is another scenario. Let's suppose a financial institution must ensure compliance with GDPR and other regulatory requirements. So we can say compliance is the scenario for regulatory environment. So Microsoft Purview provides compliance assessment reports, data sensitivity labeling, and policy enforcement to help the institution comply with the regulations. So this is the second scenario. Now, if you see, uh, we'll see later. Let's try to understand the third scenario. Third scenario. Uh, let's take another vertical, like an healthcare provider needs to enforce data governance policies to protect patient data and ensure proper data usage. Well, again, MS Purview allows the provider to define and enforce data governance policies, ensuring that patient data is used and managed according to regulatory standards. So, all these components of Purview. It was healthcare. Example, let's say another scenario just to make a point. Scenario 4. Now, a retail company wants to improve the quality of its customer data to enhance marketing efforts. Well, data insights, you can understand, we need to understand the data and improve the quality. So, Microsoft Purview Data Insights provide data quality monitoring and analytics, helping the company identify and address data quality issues. So, these are some scenarios that will definitely help to connect some dots. Like these will help us clearing the first piece. This data policy will help us clearing this piece. Same goes with the healthcare data, and data insights gonna help here. Ultimately, all these components together helping achieving all these uh, scenarios, all these requirement of the scenarios, all these components. Okay, so what exactly is happening? If you need to just conclude it, the very simple thing is we are connecting to the data sources, okay, and scanning it, cataloging it, putting in a centralized repository, uh, under data map and data catalog. Then we are defining policies and taking care of and doing the enforcement, also policy on data retention and lifecycle management. During scanning, we are also applying the classification sensitivity levels, and all that data that we have, the information about the data, metadata that we have in our centralized repository data map, we are getting insights out of it. All right. So, what we need to do? Let's take an example, a simple example. Let's suppose we have a multinational corporation wants to implement Microsoft Purview to enhance its data governance and compliance capabilities. So what they need to do, they first need to set up MS Purview account. Okay, that's what they need to do. And then they need to connect data sources. Okay, need to connect data sources like Azure SQL DB, Data Lake, or on-prem SQL servers, those kind of data sources, and then automate data classification. Uh, Enable automated data classification and sensitivity labeling for connected data sources automatically, right? And then we can also define governance policies, means create and enforce data governance policies to ensure compliance with organizational and regulatory requirements. And finally, use data insights and monitor data usage, quality, and compliance, and generate reports for auditing purpose. Right. So Microsoft Purview. Let's conclude this. We have learned a lot of things. So let's conclude this by saying MS Purview is a powerful data governance and compliance solution that helps organization manage, protect, and get insights from their data by providing comprehensive tools for data discovery, classification, governance, and compliance. Purview enables organization to ensure the data is well managed and secure, meeting both internal policies and external regulatory requirements. Implementing Microsoft Purview can significantly enhance an organization's data governance strategy and improve overall data management practices. Right. So yeah, this is all about a very basic, very high level, very rudimentary information about MS Purview. It's a huge topic. There's a lot to learn. Even Microsoft uh, created a separate certification for this SC 400. But we just needed to get ourselves familiarized with this topic because this is a part of security specialist series, uh, one or two chapter. So that's why I just introduced this in this particular series. Well, thank you for watching. I hope it was informative and you guys liked it. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.